Hey, it's super hot, so I have a fan on, but it's been a minute. So a lot has happened since last time I made a video about eulogy, and since then um, we've actually filmed it all, and then we edited it all together, and we got into what I think is going to be the locked cut, and then we sent it off to Seamus, who's going to be working on the music, and then I've also sent it to someone to fix the music, or not the music, the audio of it. So things are moving, but I guess I just wanted to talk about the actual filming of it. Uh, I'm not sure how much I want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. One of the things that I specifically did, and I think I talked about it last time, was I tried to plan around the location where I was going to film at, and luckily my roommates were very gracious enough to let me do that here. So we took over everything, and I think what's great about having such a small shoot in a small place is that we had the opportunity to uh, shoot any way we want, and that either meant in sequential order or non-sequential order. We of course we had to do a lot of non-sequential order, but what was also great is that there was an opportunity to kind of like work on some of the things in sequential order, so then we could make sure everything made sense, and to make sure that we could move the rhythm to the next scene in as low impact as possible in terms of like forgetting what happened before any of that. And uh, one of the things that I did for this was, while there was a lot of planning of shots and all that, there was also an opportunity for like improvised shooting. There was a couple sequences that I purposely left uh, not uh, not framed, written, whatever. I didn't make a lot of shot listing for, is what I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the reason being is because the emotions of those sections um, were too high, and what I really wanted was for Dashel, the camera operator, to allow him the freedom to move around wherever he wanted, because the emotion is more important than where we're going to be putting the camera, because the camera will naturally capture those things. I did give him a set of guidelines, a sense of like what to look for and how to look for it. But I didn't necessarily say, all right, we're going to go to this shot, this shot, this shot. We tried it once for one of the sequences, and it just didn't feel right when we were practicing it. And so we ended up just throwing it all away and then just going freeballing it and trying to go as natural as possible in terms of what the eyes are going to see. And I talked about how I had a dynamic framing thing going on, and so we remembered those kind of rules and ideas that I kind of came up with, and that allowed him to the freedom to move within kind of borders, so he could do what he needed, but he was guided by these, and that let the moment speak for itself. And that was really awesome, because when it edited together, it felt a lot more natural, the way that we were able to piece together the moments that needed to stand out and allow certain moments to breathe more. And I guess one of the things to talk about that is that having, you know, being okay, not knowing what you're doing for a certain amount of time or whatever, because there are a few moments where I purposely had it more improvised in terms of how it was shooting, because of the high stakes of those emotions. And I think they lended to themselves wonderfully when it was time to see those emotions play out in the editing room and then putting it together with that. So Dasher did a great job. He knew exactly what I meant, and he knew exactly what I wanted, and so we were able to capture those moments. When it came time to seeing shots, I was totally open and encouraged my team to see if there was any other things we could capture that weren't just from what we had, where I had written down in terms of the shot list. And so Dashel and Preston, who helped out with the audio, together they both piped in with ideas that made certain sections even more fun and more emotionally high when we tried to capture them. And that really speaks to the whole idea that the film was made together. And that's what's exciting for me when it comes to time to film, is that it's not just me, it's not just the director or the cinematographer, it's everybody. And all that together really created some fun moments, which I really liked. That really brought a nice special feeling to it. We were always aiming for this specific feeling, specifically the big montage moment. There's a big montage moment in the middle that was really fun and moving in the sense of like there's a lot of movement, and we wanted to capture a more innocent time, and so together we came up with ways to find different shots that could elicit that feeling, and that was really cool. I really liked it. There's a couple moments that that weren't able to make it into the final cut, but they were captured in a wonderful way that was really goofy, really stupid, and I liked that. That was stupid and goofy. There was a section where I'm arm wrestling nobody. It's because he's pretending to arm wrestle his brother, and it's so dumb the way that we came up with it, and I really loved it. It's a shame that it kind of didn't fit with the rhythm of the montage, because it was a really nice moment that I liked. But you know, ultimately, when it comes time to shooting and editing, you have to think of the bigger picture. And although you like certain moments, and although certain things feel better on the script, it's different once you capture it. There was two longish scenes when written down and also filmed that we just had to scrap because they messed with the rhythm of it. You know, filming a script kind of gives you hindsight onto what information is already given to you out there, what information is clearer because of the visual storytelling and making certain things redundant, and you don't need those anymore. And so because of that, there was two scenes that didn't necessarily need to be there anymore. I was able to salvage certain moments from them, and I created a kind of a whole new section that reinforced the beginning of the movie. And I think that overall made the movie stand up a bit stronger, because the rhythm towards the end was a lot faster, or not a lot faster, a lot smoother. And I think the integrity of the entire film is more important than smaller moments that are cool and great, but they just hamper the entire thing. So that's another thing that we've kind of I keep discovering as I make new films, is those little things that ended up being not necessary, because I had a lot of great feedback in the written form, but you can kind of just tell from the eyes and some of the subtle movements that, that information is already played emotionally in the way that the character is doing things. And so you don't necessarily need words or scenes to redo that again, which is really great, because what happened is that a lot of dialogue ended up getting ripped out, and so the majority of the film is like silent. It's a silent film almost, except for the beginning and the end. The ending where the monologue has happened, and the beginning where the kind of stakes and the setting is established, and the rest of it is just pure emotion, reaction, doing things, and then you're watching this person go through something, which I thought was really neat. I always love the quietness of film in terms of like being able to say things without saying them. And so that was a really great build for the ending of the running at the end, which luckily everybody agreed that it really works. I think I told you how fucking nervous I was for the ending, because it's so weird. And so it was great to see that the ending really came together. And right now I have like pretend music in there. Like, it took soundtracks and songs from bands that I like and musicians and composers that I like, and put it in there for the feeling, for Seamus to kind of recognize the feeling when he's making his music. And so the kind of grand ending is made that way by the music, by making this crescendo that just keeps on driving and going. And that's going to be very important. So I can't wait to see what Seamus does. And it's great to see that when the music's right, the ending feels so breakthrough in terms of the storytelling and the emotional weight for the character. So I love that. That was a relief when it came to that. There's really not much else to tell about the the filmmaking. The first night was a disaster. It was a disaster because obviously we're still figuring out how to work together as a team. You know, all the equipment was malfunctioning. I was so fucking pissed at just the universe. But that happens every single film. You want to kill yourself, you want to die emotionally, because it just feels so awful when everything's going wrong, because you've been working on something for so long and you know what these emotions mean, and you know that you want to try to get it as clear as you can, and then suddenly, you know, you get the wrong type of batteries, the gimbal isn't working well, or something of that matter, who knows, whatever. That emotional distress was so exhausting. And not to mention, there are cats in this place. I love them, but not during this filming. These cats were everywhere, and so one of them has like a little chain on their neck, and I would just hear the ding-a-ling-ling-ling-ling as they would walk around, or they would start meowing at very important moments, and it's just like, I love you, but I want to kill you! So, they're great, they're fine, you know. A lot of scenes, I recognize that the cat is just off frame, so that's a little fun game for me to relive heartbreak and anger and sadness and just break down in tears again as I rewatch the edits. But anyway, the number one casualty to films is cats. Get them out of your set when you can. The cats are nice to have as life partners in crime, but not making movies. Don't work with kids, don't work with animals. You got it? So yeah, other than that, let me see. So we got that thing. Yeah, and I guess the last thing to say really is just that in the editing station, in the editing bay, or whatever, it's important to, if you're doing the editing and the filmmaking yourself, I think it's important to look at it as strictly an editor. Don't look at it as a filmmaker or a writer. I've said this before, I look at each section of filmmaking separately through separate eyes. I'm looking at it as a writer, I'm writing as a writer, I'm directing and planning shots as a director, and then I am editing as an editor, because you have to ultimately serve the film as a whole. And if you just go strictly as a story, as a writer, then that could influence how you direct, because you're like, oh, but this is so integral, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not that important, and what you realize is that this other thing here works better if you just move it around. So when it comes time to editing, it's important to look at it as an editor, and how do you tell story that way. You figure out how to re-edit certain scenes and sections in a way that wasn't originally planned, but works better. And so it's your job to move things around and play and figure out how to tell a story in the best way possible. So yeah, editing went great. I had a few test screenings. I sent a few people some links. The people who I live with and a couple friends came over and we watched it together. The coloring wasn't done yet, or it was pretty much done, and the audio wasn't leveled, but the fake music was there, and the edit was essentially locked. And everyone really loved it. It was a really great reaction. It was great to see, essentially, since it's such a strange film. But I really liked that it came across well. And it did the job that I wanted it to do. You know, not everyone's gonna like this movie, obviously. I mean, it's kind of arty-farty bullshitty type of movie, but you know, I try to make it as normal as possible for this type of film, and I think it's working. I hope it does well. This is a personal story, a personal feeling, and you know, me dealing with my anxiety with this whole COVID thing, and I'm hoping people can at least relate to that. You know, the anxiety of dealing with something immense, you know, the loss of one's twin brother, the loss of COVID, whatever, or the encounter with COVID, whatever. So I'm hoping it works, but we'll see. The music is the last part. I'll be submitting this to Sundance with the fake score. You can submit films that are not complete, as long as they're pretty darn close to complete. And mine is, Eulogy is almost complete. Once I get the audio mixing back from Lewis Ramsey, who's doing the mixing from that, I'm gonna slap that in there. We're gonna level the fake score in there, and then we're gonna send it off to Sundance, and with the first framing saying, "Hey, everything's done except the score. This is a placement score, so hopefully you understand what we're trying to do." And I might do that for a few more, but I am hoping that I want to give Seamus as much time as he needs. I'm hoping maybe sometime in October we can get the score done. So we'll see. In the meantime, this might be the last video I make. Maybe I'll make one more if it gets into a festival. Who knows? But what I'll be doing in the meantime is working on more scripts. I have been since I've wrapped editing and shooting and all that stuff. I just keep working. I'm making a feature version of the other short that I was supposed to shoot in the spring, but COVID happened and the cast is too big, so I'm just writing it as a feature. Hopefully, if things come to pass, I can film it next year. That would be really cool. If things go really well with Eulogy, maybe I can pitch this feature to people and get it done right, because this is gonna need an actual budget, not my no budget films that I've been making for a few years now. And I also have the next few ideas in mind after that. I know that I want to start writing another kind of, if quarantine lasts forever, I know the next film after that is going to be like another quarantine type film, in the sense of small cast. The stakes are very emotionally intense. The physical threat needs to be very specific to being in a place with a couple people. I kind of know the bare bones of the story, and hopefully it does. It works out. I'm going to be writing as a short and as a feature as well. Never throw away your work. Never throw away your work. So I can use the short version as kind of like an example, proof of concept of what it is, or what it could be, and then also work on the feature length. But either way, my goal typically is, my goal lately has been to shoot one project every year and write at least one feature a year as well. So, and we'll see how that goes. But until whenever, I guess I'll see you later. I hope you enjoyed this journey, watching me figure out how to make a movie, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just stumble my way through. I mean, who knows what they're doing? If you have any questions, about all this shit, hit me up on Vine. Not TikTok, because I don't have one. Guess you could email me. I'm not gonna give you my email, but if you can find it, do that. I suppose you could write a comment with a question, but I don't really go online. I just write. I ain't got free time.